Within the realm of education, there are several trending multimedia strategies that we as an organization can take advantage of. The first one that I want to reference is somewhat of an older strategy with a newer twist, the flipped classroom. Typically, this results in the lecture portion of a class being recorded in a video, and then the notes are taken by the students watching the video at home. This results in more class time for working problems, activities such as demonstrations and laboratory exercises. What is trending currently is the idea of making those videos shorter. Because when you have a very complex idea, a teacher can be very tempted to make a 100-slide PowerPoint presentation and talk their way through it. But if we consider that almost two-thirds of the population considers themselves to be visual learners, sounds and moving images help grab our attention, invoke emotions, and they allow us to use more of our brain in order to process and retain information for longer periods of time. Also, current education places more emphasis on the concepts of working memory and cognitive load because these concepts seem to suggest that learners have a limited capacity to learn at in one sitting. The idea of having more than one sitting or more sittings seems very attractive. In order to accomplish this, we do need to make our videos shorter. Short videos that are sharp and to the point tend to be more digestible, even considering difficult concepts. Uh, some advocates of this trend refer to it as the micro-learning format. Another trend that is moving into education more and more is virtual reality. Now, there are two ways of considering virtual reality. One is the trope of the headset, where the user completely covers their eyes and interacts with some sort of audio interface, and their movements in real life move the virtual self in a virtual world. That's not always the case. More and more laboratory experiments are being carried out in virtual reality. Instead of forcing a student to build various apparatus in the lab that were used by famous chemists of old like Charles Boyle, we can recreate those apparatus virtually and allow the students to interact with the virtual version of the lab. This usually takes place on a browser, and we can access these laboratories through our normal internet connection. There's no special equipment required. A third trend that is following close behind virtual reality is augmented reality. If you are having difficulty picturing what augmented reality is, think of any screen or video of the Pokemon Go app. That is augmented reality. Augmented reality is whenever you project sounds or texts or images, you superimpose those over some sort of representation of the real world. Also, if you've ever seen the movie Minority Report, or if you've ever seen Tony Stark from the Avengers movies, you see him interacting with his AI through an augmented reality system. This approach to interacting with real items, such as physical textbooks, can offer the student a unique and more engaging, if not more visually appealing, experience when interacting with those physical textbooks. Over time, we do expect that the cost of the glasses or filters or headsets that are associated with augmented reality to come down. And so in the future, this can be more and more of an option for learning, especially in the secondary level. A fourth trend is the gamification of instruction. Gamification is simply transforming any sort of instruction into a competitive, objective-oriented task. It's very, very popular for students One of the most popular platforms that allow you to gamify instruction is Kahoot. It can be as simple as taking something like a practice quiz and turning them into a Kahoot and bringing an aspect of competition into the equation. Now, there can be points associated with this. The grade can be tied to performance. Uh, there can be simply some version of participation points, depending on how heavily you want to weigh that in your classroom. Also, there can be prizes for winning first, second, third, fourth, fifth place, anything like that. But adding the aspect of the competitive nature of gamifying content activates a different part of the student that isn't typically engaged in a traditional instruction. And lastly, we can consider scenario-based learning. In some sort of scenario-based learning, uh, think of the old choose your own adventure stories. Now, in a choose your own adventure story, you do in fact have a limited number of options, but the order in which you go through those options is based on your choosing. And so the fact that the student would be participating in the orientation of their own education is in itself inherently engaging. I hope that we can learn more about these trends in the near future and use them to better serve our student population.